Alright.
So as you can see, today we managed to successfully fire up the CNC, and here it is running through the various motions of the different 5 axes. And so now it's not going to be very long until we start milling the first plugs and ultimately making the next, or the first molds off from those plugs. So things are moving along.
Welcome back. So things happened pretty quick over the weekend with this particular plug. The guys were in, Roberto and Chris were in, and glassed it quickly. And so I didn't even get a chance to actually take any video of it before Jeff was spraying it first thing on Monday morning. So here it is, just getting its coat of putty on there. And it wasn't long, around about lunchtime, we had it up on the machine and milling it. So not wasting any time. And here you can see just starting out with the ball mill just on these corners of the flanges there that are sort of rounded, and so you need to do those with the ball mill. So I decided to do that first because the flat mill passes were going to take a while. And here it is, just starting out the flat mill pass, and that ran all through Monday night and into Tuesday morning, and then we had to slide it down and do the rest of it today. So good progress on that. And so here you can see this is this morning now. It's been slid down on the table and milling the flat mill on the far end. So this is the end where the strake is closest to the fuselage where it's milling right now. And you can see it's just starting out on the biggest area there and just running that. So we didn't have any problems with this one. Everything went fairly smoothly. So didn't have to redo anything, which is good news. And this is around about lunchtime, getting close to finishing that big sort of field area. Well, actually, I think it was kind of mid-morning. It takes a while to run those big areas because the step over is so small. And this is the upper left strake, wing strake, and see Zach's carefully sanding that. We don't want to mess that one up because the airfoil is really critical there, so he's being very meticulous with his sanding. And here we are on the plug again, and just on the ball mill, just running the final passes around the edge of the flange there before finishing it off. So it pretty much took the whole day to actually finish that off. So that's 1 down and 3 more to go in terms of the big wing skins. And also over the weekend, the guys, Roberto and Chris, they trimmed a whole bunch of these molds that had been done. So that was the lower air intake tray, and this is the air intake scoop. So they trimmed those. And they also did the ones for the doors and the cowling one and the dash one. There was a whole bunch of them that they did, so they really were working hard on the weekend. And here's the different ones, the doors here, ready with those braces that I cut the other day. So those are going to get glassed into place soon, actually probably with carbon fiber to match the molds, because we want to keep the materials the same. And then that mold will be ready to lay up the door skins, so that's coming along. And here's Zach just taking the peel ply off of the rear seat mounts mold, so that can get its layers of heavy glass put on there. And there's the finished product for that wing skin there, with all the milling completed, and you can see it actually came out really nicely. So we'll be making up a platform tomorrow to start the next one, which will be the left side lower wing skin, and hopefully get that done within about 4 days, which is what it took to do this one. And there's the dash mold there, and it's had some braces put on there so it can sit nicely on a table or whatever when it's being laid up. And Roberto and Chris are back in this evening, and so here they are putting the heavy layers on the mold for the front seat mounts. And you see actually putting a bit of a mixture here, so they're putting glass but also some carbon fiber. And the reason why they're using the carbon fiber there is just it molds more easily around complicated corners and stuff than the glass does. So that's why you see the two different things going on there.
And this is the update for the first part of the week. So here we have Zach just working on the new plug for the rear bulkhead or aft bulkhead. It's just has a guide coat sprayed on there, and he's just sanding that smooth so it'd be ready for primer. So that one moved along fairly quickly. And there he is again. He's pretty busy. So here we were yesterday
working on putting a coat of or a layer of fiberglass on the plug for the main spar. So that went pretty quick yesterday. It wasn't that complicated to do. So we just sort of knocked that out yesterday afternoon. And so some people were asking about the spar, and I'll give you some more details about that shortly. Here's the mold for the forward bulkhead, and that's been popped from its plug there. Obviously the edges need to be all cleaned up and trimmed off, and then the wax profile needs to be removed from that one. And then likewise, here's that one for that little brace, which goes between the rear bulkhead and the rear pressure bulkhead. And there's the main spar all glassed up. So this main spar is 16 feet long, and it extends about halfway along each of the wings, and it mates up with a spar that's actually inside of each of the wings. So basically, the wing has its own separate spar that goes all the way up the winglet as well. And the wings are removable, but you won't want to be trailering this thing because you'd have a 16-foot wide sort of article that you would be towing, because that main spar is that wide. Okay, so there's the aft bulkhead pretty much done, and it just needs a little bit more detail work before it can get primed. And then next thing today, Jeff pulled out the putty rig again and sprayed the main spar there, so he already can put it back on the mill. So it didn't take too long to do that, and getting in a good rhythm with making plugs and spraying them, so it doesn't take that long. And here it is up on the machine. So starting off the first pass there, just doing all the face cuts first. And someone's probably wondering, why are you using the big long mill? Well, our short mill is getting a little bit dull. So I've ordered a new one, so we always have one, and then the current one will be going and off to get sharpened again. So I wanted to have a nice sharp one, so using the long one there. And here we are with the ball end mill doing the swarf cut on the side face there of the main spar. And the reason using the ball cut again is so when it gets down into the corner there, it leaves a nice radius instead of just leaving a 90-degree turn, which makes it easier for us later on when we're sanding and painting, and actually when we're pulling the pulling the mold off of there. So that didn't take much effort to do this little swarf cut here, and you can see this is it's doing actually 5 passes. I think I set it up to 5 passes where it steps down about just a little bit more than half an inch each time. That way it's not sort of overtaxing the bit by trying to cut too much at once. So here you'll see it'll step down to the next level and go back up again. And those cuts came out nicely. And here's the guys cleaning the wax profile out of the channels that they create on these are on the floor braces. And so those channels are so when we create the actual part, we can put a latex seal around there, and we'll actually run into those channels and create a good vacuum seal, and then we can reuse that latex sort of seal instead of having to put a plastic bag on there every time for vacuuming. And because we changed the aft bulkhead, we had to make an adjustment to this rear pressure bulkhead, because it's simpler than it was going to be before. So we actually had it on the mill, and I didn't get any footage of that, but just knocked off a couple of inches off the back there, and we're going to be basically flattening that out, building it up a little bit, putting it back on the mill, and reworking that a little bit. So that won't take too long. And finally, this is how we left things this evening, with a few paths left to run on the center section of the main spar.
So first half of this week been pretty busy, just doing more milling and molds and sanding and all the same stuff that we've been doing. So here's a bit of a recap. So this is the center console, the plug for that. So just milling, finishing off the milling on that. That's just doing the flange right there. Didn't have really too many problems with that. Did the ball mill pass on the top of it, and then most of the rest of it was just done with a flat mill. And this is one of the A-frames that supports the firewall, and so this plug is now finished, and so that one ready for some sanding. And here's the center console again, a little bit further along, this time with the flat mill again, and milling
the sides of it, and this is the right hand side. So you can see just a bit of back and forth there, nothing too tricky with that. And next up on the mill was the lower dash plug, and so this one was run mainly with the ball mill, and here actually using the ball mill to cut this angled side face here, which is kind of the edge of the dash there. And while that's all going on, the guys have been doing some sanding. So this is one of the door fixtures, getting final sanding before it gets its final coat of primer. And here's Devon is actually waxing this one. So this is the plug for the underside of the glare shield, and getting waxing in preparation for having the mold pulled for that one. So it gets about 5 coats of wax on there, and then again the rubber profile needs to be put on as well. And here's Roberto putting a little bit of fill on a couple of little low spots that were in this firewall A-frame. And here Chris is working on the center console plug, just getting in the corner there and just cleaning out a few spots that were difficult to get into with the machine. And obviously still some sanding and stuff to be done on that one. And now we're on to today, and Jeff actually got that one primed up a little bit, although still hadn't been sanded in that little pocket there, the storage area. And here's one of the A-frames, and that got primed and guide coated, and this one also primed and guide coated. Has already had some sanding done on that one. So they're coming along. And here's the plug for these 2 firewall braces that the engine will mount to. So that one got primed as well today. So that one's getting close for being able to pull a mold. And today all the toolpaths were finished for this lower part of the dash. It came out pretty nicely. There you can see that's a little indent there where the side stick's going to be. And that's where the latch is going to be for the glove compartment door, the one on the left hand side, and then over there you see right hand side as well. So that one came out nicely. It's ready for some sanding. So next up on the machine is this plug for the center stack that joins the center console and the lower half of the dash that you saw, I guess, last week going into foam. So now it's in putty, and just running all the toolpaths on that. Pretty much took most of the day, and it's pretty much finished now. You'll see that in a little bit. And here it is a little bit further along, and this time switched to the ball mill to do this kind of undercut area there. And it's pretty neat that the machine can turn up more than 100 degrees now from vertical, so we can sort of work underneath some of the parts now, which is good. And meanwhile today the guys were tackling these door frame molds again. So this is the next, actually that's the last piece of that one. So this is the right hand door, last piece getting done, and that'll be finished tomorrow with the heavy. And then this is the second last piece of the left hand door. So Mark's putting down the Cabasil mix with resin there just around where the rubber profile is to smooth that out a little bit. And meanwhile Jeff has the bushings and stuff that he needed now to bolt these flanges together for the mold for the spar, the main spar. So he's gone and lined those up and epoxied those into place. So it won't be too long and we'll be able to get further on and laying up the spar. And here's that plug now for the lower half of the glare shield, or the underside of the glare shield, and it has the rubber profile put on there. So that's all ready to have a mold pulled now. And both of these door frame fixtures got their final sanding and final coat of primer, so they're all ready to be used now for trimming and bonding the doors together. And here we are at the end of the day today, and Mark's got this one finished, so that'll be tomorrow. We'll be getting a layer of heavy on there to finish that one off, so the light layers are all done on there. and Zach was working on this one over here, and so that also finished at the end of the day. So those guys have just done a tremendous job on getting this done. It was quite an epic thing, but there's still more to go, but we're nearly there. And here's the center dash stack, and just about finished here. Got about another hour or so to go when it was running this path. So just finishing off the left side of the flange there. And now we're right at the end of the day, and so this is finishing off the right hand side of the flange, and just a couple of little cleanup things to run in the morning, and then that one will be ready to come off and get sanded. So that's pretty much all the stuff to do with the dash in terms of the plugs all milled now, so that's good getting that all done. And lastly, Mark sent a bunch more pictures through of the work that he's been doing. So this is one of the flanges there for the exhaust, and you can see how nice his welds are there. And this is all out of Inconel, which is, you know, super lightweight and very heat resistant. So there's the Y pipe there, and you can see he's done a super nice job on that as well. And here you can see he cut the factory flanges off of the exhaust manifolds, off the ends of the exhaust manifolds, and then welded these other regular, I can't remember the type, but there's a certain type name for these flanges. So he's welded those on, and then they use a clamp that goes around that to join that to the Y pipe. And you'll see that here again in a second. It was the same image that I showed last week. And here you can see the beginnings there coming out of the Y pipe of the plumbing for the wastegate. And so we're, you know, having a wastegate on this setup that basically bypasses the turbo so it doesn't overboost. And there you can see the wastegate's been added in there, and where the exhaust comes out of that, it'll flow back into the exhaust pipe. And next up is a flange that Kyle milled for us, and then Mark's gone and welded this other pipe on there. So this is for the to mate up to the factory intake, and so we'll be having the plumbing from the intercooler joining onto this. And there you can see it's actually bolted onto the factory intake there.